I'm going to share a reading with you this morning by Francis Koziar called When Covenant Breaks. When covenant breaks, hope flickers and doubt seeps in like floodwaters through the cracks in the basement, while the many return to the comforts of their congregation. We are left staring at the door that was slammed in our faces, wondering if we should walk back in and why. Our faith demands growth, demands inclusion of those who were never like us, whatever side of that us you fall on. But words can so easily be cast aside in the moment when they matter. Covenant is a promise that we will work together on a team we didn't choose. By doing group work, like the idea of far more than the thing itself, it is the radical answer to a radical goal. At least on paper, for our faith does not give us answers for what to do when covenant breaks. When we see that some would rather cling to their patriarchy and their white supremacy, would make problem people of the whistleblowers and hateful radicals of those just asking for rights, would pretend that promises of covenant mean nothing unless the person is just like you. But then, standing in that cold with the door slammed in front of you, something shifts. Covenant is a promise between the people of this faith, but it's also a promise between ourself and our faith. And sometimes nothing takes more faith than staying. Choosing to speak of your broken heart to those who are brave enough to face change, to stay in dialogue, and to have those hard conversations you never wanted to have, and choosing to be angry rather than walk away. All of these are holding true to your promises. When covenant breaks, we are sent back to the beginning again like a toddler on their time out to think about what just happened, or a minister on their sabbatical called to remember what they fell in love with in the first place. This ship is not sinking. It is only rocked by the violent waves of oppression, and everyone has contributed to that oppression of someone, if not everyone. May that humility keep us listening, even when our own pain hasn't been heard yet, even when our relationships are shattering like crystals, falling like cold stone, even when all you need is a hug and your community won't open its arms. When covenant breaks, we need to come home to trust that there are others out there who would have supported you if they were only there, and to trust that our faith will always be here tomorrow, bound by nothing more or less than the promises made by people willing to fight like a golden web, glimmering with dew in the first light of morning. Because when covenant breaks, it's a tear merely in a web, still holding strong as long as we believe in ourselves, in the greatness that we could become together. Then we can always come back tomorrow, roll up our sleeves, and start weaving again. When we gather as Unitarian Universalists, we often say that covenant is the heart of our faith, not creed, not dogma, not one uniform belief, but covenant. Promises made and remade, but how we live, lead, and love together. Today, this community begins by turning toward these promises. Together, there are three voices that guide us. The covenant we commit to as members congregations of the UUA that reminds us that as a movement, we promise to journey towards justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, interdependence, and love. These are not abstract ideals. They're guideposts for our living tradition. Then there's the UUSMC congregational covenant that proclaims, sacred is this place of acceptance, this home for the Spirit. Here all are welcome with all our differences, who come in peace with an open heart. We enter in celebration to learn, to share, and to grow together in our Unitarian Universalist faith. This is an everyday promise of welcome here in this very space. Then I am bound, and unlike other mornings, others in this room are bound by the UU Ministerial Association's covenant, which calls ministers into accountability and humility, reminding us that we too are bound by promises to one another, to congregations, and to our larger faith. These three layers, larger faith, congregation, and professional ministry, remind us how covenant is woven through every level of our shared life. Now, of course, if you think about it, we all have other covenants that guide our lives outside this space. Our partnerships, in our homes, in our careers, amongst our families and friends. The covenant is not just words alone. The covenant also has to live and be alive as the trust that sustains it. And trust grows slowly, like a sapling. It needs tending, water, patience, and sun. It's easy to damage and hard to repair, and yet it can be repaired. The beauty of covenant is it's not perfection, but resilience. And here's the mystery. When we trust the wisdom in each of us, every heart is in that holy place. Trust is not blind faith. It's a decision to see one another's worth, to listen for the wisdom in the many voices, and to let our hearts open to one another. That's the ground where covenant takes root. Some of you know that it had been planned this morning. This is just a photo or a representation of the stole of this congregation. But it had been planned during today's service that there would be a presentation of the stole that represents the ministry of this congregation to your new minister. And I asked for that moment to be set aside. For now, the worship committee heard me. And we explored why the wait, and we want to share with you. You see, waiting is not because I don't cherish the moment, but because I respect the weight that stole represents. The stole is not just fabric. It's a sign of mutual trust, of promises tested, and ministry entered into with intention. To receive your congregational stole represented the shared ministry without first having time to build covenant together would feel like rushing past the slow and careful work that makes the symbols real. It will mean more and be more true when we have walked some distance together, when we have practiced repair and learned how to listen and speak to one another and establish this trust. Because the truth is, covenant will be broken. It's not a matter of if, but when. We will disappoint one another. We will rush ahead without listening, and we will hesitate when action is needed. We will speak harsh words sometimes, or stay silent when your voice is actually needed. The sacred work is not in avoiding all failure, but learning how to return again and again. How to say, I was wrong, I forgot our promise, let's begin again. And when we do, these symbols of our shared ministry, like the stole, will be infused with the weight of a lived covenant, not just a ceremony. This is how we begin in intention. So in our season of new beginnings, there's this temptation to sprint, right? New relationships, I'm so excited. New communities, new hopes. It can feel urgent. You want to get moving. And yes, some things will move quickly and have already. But covenant invites us to pause, to breathe, to remember that moving fast without grounding in trust is like building a house on sand with a tidal wave coming. So we ask, how do we promise to be together? Not as an ideal, but as a practice. How do we move forward with intention instead of rushing ahead? How do we build the kind of trust that can hold both our mistakes and our triumphs? This is why our covenants are to be read aloud, not hidden in the bylaws or posted on the wall, although both are true, and not rote every Sunday, but in meetings and gatherings, written into agendas, spoken into being, because covenants must be in our mouths. They're in our hearts. So in community, whether you are from First or you are from this congregation, does the committee that you serve on or the team that you work with have a covenant? Is it written down as part of your everyday charters or your everyday agendas? And do you remind yourselves when you gather of that covenant? One might ask, why is it important? Because when covenant breaks, it's those words that call us back. It's those relationships that we are reminded we are bound to, not by unanimous beliefs, but by the promise of our relationships. Repair is not an embarrassment. It's holy work. The return itself is sacred. We are entering in the days of autumn, what many know in the Jewish faith tradition as the days of awe. They culminate soon in Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. It's the season devoted to reflection, forgiveness, and beginning again. We will honor Yom Kippur more fully in a coming service, but today I want to name some resonance. That covenant and forgiveness belongs to the same spiritual family. Both ask us to remember that we are not defined only by our failures, but by our willingness to return, repair, and begin again. We are not just who we have been. We are who we are becoming. Covenant is future-oriented. It asks us to imagine the people, the community, the faith we might yet be, to live into our aspirations, not just our habits. And so today, as we begin in this shared ministry, we affirm that sacred is this place of acceptance. Love is our guide and foundation. Trust is ours to tend, to lose, and to repair. And beginning again is not a failure, but faithfulness. May we move forward with intention May we hold trust as tenderly as a seedling, and when we falter, may we have the courage to return, to repair, and begin again. For this is who we are. This is who we are becoming. This is the sacred heart of Unitarian Universalist covenants. Blessed be. Ashe. Amen. And may it be so.